Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Tyree talked it to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, gift stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine wreck, jet flag, son of a gun.
Taylor's gone. Jonathan Taylor. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy.
I'm never taking a back seat to anybody that don't plan on starting now.
Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
And there's no doubt about it, yeah, you mean Gene Okerlund. You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, fans. Welcome aboard to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you. And looking forward to another fun day. Plenty to talk about. Last night, plenty of action on the hardwood. And the latest CFP college football poll is out. And once again, not much changes. Indiana is in solidly, as for those that have continued to doubt, I'm telling you, there's not going to be anybody that's is in, with the exception of even Alabama looks to be in. There's not going to be I don't believe there will be any more change, especially if you listen to the playoff committee talk afterwards. But welcome into the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Hope you're staying warm. We're going to be talking about the CFP as that poll just, it's the penultimate poll, which means one more to come out. It's the next to last. And I don't think Indiana's position is not going to change anymore. Teams that are not playing in a conference championship, their positioning is not likely to change unless they lose. Let's take, for example, Penn State. They are slotted in the 5th slot. Pretty daggone good spot. It's the first place that will host a game. If they lose in the Big Ten championship, I do not see them moving from that spot. They're not going to punish conference championship runner-ups. The same with Indiana and taking on Georgia. Now, if Georgia happens to lose to Texas, I think Indiana ends up going to Austin and playing Texas. I think that they will just swap those teams out. The same with Penn State's positioning at 5. If they were to beat Oregon, I think Oregon would land in the 5 spot. Miami, they're on the outside looking in. Everyone wanted to talk about Indiana's schedule. Well, Miami didn't have an exactly loaded schedule this season either. Then the athletics directors for Iowa State and SMU are having a little turf war. SMU is 11-1. They're riding a 9-game winning streak right now into the ACC title game. They're currently slotted at the number 8 spot in last night's ranking. They'll take on Clemson, who is also not in the top 12. I think the loser of that game is out. And that would leave SMU fans unhappy, but that's just how it is. Iowa State, meanwhile, is currently 16th They're playing in the Big 12 championship game against Arizona State. And I think both of Arizona and State is slotted in as the Big 12 champion right now, but that'll change if they lose. So Indiana's position is not going to change. So those of you that, again, were saying that people were saying that Indiana wasn't going to make it or whatever, I don't know who people are, but people that don't know what they're talking about. Indiana is in, they're in. I don't know, however, more clearly to state, Indiana is in. They're not getting bumped out. They're not going to move. As a matter of fact, they're positioned. It would have been nice if they were playing I think, if they had been a little bit further down the line, the draw is the 12th seed, which is usually the hardest. To me, it was the easiest path because they would have played Penn State and then Boise State. That should have been the hardest path because of the positioning, but I think it's one of the easiest paths. Appreciate everybody joining us here on the program today. No matter where and how you're listening, whether it's on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref, always the right call, down in Evansville in Southwest Indiana, and on the voice of the region, 1240 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Just keep it locked in right here on these stations all day. We got you covered no matter where you're going. Or, of course, if you're following us on YouTube, just make sure you've locked down that subscription and notifications toggle. Todd Leary will join us here in this hour to talk about last night's Indiana win, as they win easily. My question would be, what does that game look like if Luke Goode doesn't have a career night off the bench? He came alive shooting the three-point shot, and it looked to be in a non-Mike Woodson type offense. It was a little more open, a lot more three-point shots going up from Luke Goode, and the guys on the interior. Umar Ballo played the least amount of minutes that he has played this season. And Luke Goode led the way, like I said. You have Trey Galloway starting in place of Kanan Carlisle, who was not available. Miles Race had another big night. We'll talk about all of that as well. And good sign for Indiana to see him win kind of differently. Good sign to see them open it up a bit. Also, today is college football signing day. Big news for a lot of college football teams. We'll be following that and tracking that. Indiana will have a press conference later today that we will be attending, checking out all that is with the early signings. Indiana expecting a plethora of them, as they had upwards of 25 guys expected in this class. Now, you've also got the transfer portal, which is going to be happening. Who's going to leave Indiana? I mean, that's just a question of reality. We'll certainly find out. Boy, you guys are just driving me insane with this Mike Woodson stuff. It's like the Inquirer. Why Wow, Mississippi, as in Ole Miss, beat Louisville that badly? Yes, they did. 86-63. That's a surprise. Ole Miss lost back-to-back games now after losing a close one to Purdue. But Louisville is a lot better than people are giving them credit for. But, I understand how difficult it can be. They've got 13 new players. How in the world are they playing together? How in the wide, wide world of sports are they able to not just throw the ball all over the place because they've got 13 new players? Well, that must take years to get guys to play together. Oh, no, I guess it doesn't. Just kidding. Little throw out there. But looking forward to talking to Todd about all the games last night when he joins us here in a little bit. Appreciate everybody hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline as you guys have gotten it lit up already. I'm trying to quickly go down there and find Russell says he is not a source, but he has the flavor. Indiana is firmly in the college football playoff. Is that my response? Oh, I think I've already given that. But I've been saying that. I guess you guys have just not listened. There was no chance in hell that they weren't in. They were already in, people. You guys have to stop listening to people that say things just for clicks, just to get your attention. Just like all this Indiana crap that's going on right now. None of that is new. But it's, oh my, it gives you all some crap fodder to feed on because of the timing. Look at your source. I'm not saying this stuff's not true, but it's a lot of things that a lot of us didn't already know. We just don't share certain things with the public because it doesn't need to be. As much as everybody likes to think that they deserve to know everything, that's not true. You don't. And there are certain things that being an actual credentialed member of the media, you're wise enough to just stay away from until it's the right time. There's just a lot of ins and outs to stuff, but people get excited by the shiny things. And the Inquirer type reporting. But hey, I digress. But we've got plenty coming up. The Shot Father, Todd Leary, will join us after we take a pause for the cause. From the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, we're back with more right after these messages. If you're looking for a great gift for the Indiana sports fan in your life, just go to isbradio.itemorder.com and you'll find plenty of options, including sweatshirts, hoodies, t-shirts, pullovers, caps, and much more, including our Welcome to the Sig 10 line that benefits the local Boys and Girls Club. That's isbradio.itemorder.com. isbradio.itemorder.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep.
proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Morale in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along, and joined now by the shot father, Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com. How are you, sir?
I'm good. You almost said Friday, because it's usually Friday when you're staring at my face.
I did almost let her slip. I did close to it. But, man, there were some great games last night in the Big Ten. I pointed out that Michigan and Wisconsin were playing a tough game right off the bat to open things up. And, man, that game did not disappoint as Dusty May takes the Maize and Blue into Madison and comes out with a 67-64 road win over Wisconsin. That is a hell of a way to start the Big Ten season for Michigan.
Yeah, it really is. Wisconsin is I honestly still at this point believe they're going to be a sleeper team that is going to be very difficult to beat. And that win, I think late in the season, when they're looking at RPIs and all that stuff, I think that win for Michigan is going to be super important in boosting their resume.
Yeah, that was the first loss for Wisconsin. They were 8-0 up until then.
And beat some good teams too.
Yeah, and Wisconsin's always tough. They're well coached. They
Right.
just, it doesn't matter. They're kind of like a daggone Illinois. Every year it's like, gee whiz, it doesn't matter who they lose. They're able to come back. Vladislav Golden kicked in a 24 career high. I can't believe that. It's a career high. 24 points for him last night is the transfer from FAU that came up with Dusty. But Wisconsin was ranked number 11 too. So it's not like there's some Johnny-come-lately slouch.
Yeah, they had gone and won. I think it was the Greenbrier Classic tournament that they had gone and played in, and they won that thing and beat some good teams throughout that tournament. But yeah, I watched a good portion of that game, and Vlad ended up scoring a lot of easy baskets off of the kid that transferred from Yale. I'm blanking his name right now, but Wolf is his last name. I think Nick Wolf or something like that. But I mean that kid he's a 6'11" guy that handles the ball and can shoot threes and can do everything. And they were putting him in the dribble drive, pick and roll, and he and Vlad just were unstoppable. Like, he kept giving layup after layup. They did not run very many plays for Vlad to end up with 24 points. It was just all the pick and roll game, and they kept finding him for easy baskets inside.
Can you imagine if they were able to get the other dude to come with them? Johnny
John L. Davis.
John L. Davis. It's from Gary, Indiana, up there.
He ended up
Arkansas.
Yeah.
I think, and this is nothing against John L., because hell, I probably couldn't have gotten it. Michigan's tough to get into. It's tougher than all Big Ten schools are hard to get in.
Well, we saw that with Caleb Love a couple years ago. Remember when he transferred in there and his credits wouldn't transfer from North Carolina, and so he ended up at Arizona just because he couldn't get registered in school. And man, that's the only case of that I have heard, and I can't tell you how long. Like, it's amazing how difficult that must be to get into, because that's just the only case I've heard of in the last 20 years.
And how tough would they be if they had him on their roster on top of that?
Yeah. Honestly, I think that Dusty really likes the group that he's got and the makeup of how they play and that stuff. I think this is a weird thing to say, and I don't mean it negatively towards anyone, but I mean, at some point in time, coach-player relationship, it's just time to kind of separate. You know, it was kind of like Calipari last year leaving Kentucky. It was probably just time for everybody involved. Right. And I think it was the right time for John L. Davis to go experience something else and play for a different coach, and Dusty to kind of start over again. And, I'm telling you, the Wolf kid that they have that transferred in from Yale, I remember watching him last year, late in the year in their tournament, but he is tough. And I thought that was a huge pickup that Dusty got when he got him.
Yeah, he was okay. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 blocks, 3 steals. Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah, he's 6'11". He's 6'11".
That is amazing that you're getting that kind of production across. I just talked about blocking shots, steals. How the hell is a 6'11" guy getting steals? 5 assists. That's a guy that can pass out of the post.
He handled the ball, and it's not out of the post. He handled it off of the ball screen, the high ball screen, and he was, like Trey Galloway does for Indiana. They'll set that ball screen on the wing, and he ends up driving down the middle of the lane. They were running that same play for Wolf yesterday at 6'11", coming down there, and he's very capable of stopping and shooting the three-pointer. He can dribble all the way to the rim. He's strong with the ball, and they didn't have to worry about getting his credits to transfer in coming from Yale.
Iowa has to hit a last-second three-point shot to hold off Northwestern at home last night.
Yeah, and I watched part of that game too. I was flipping all over the place watching games, but yeah, that was a fun game. What a big shot that hit at the end of that game. With 0.8 seconds to go in the game, you almost figure there's zero chance. And he got a good fadeaway look from about 28 feet. Nothing but net. He drained it.
UCLA gets their first Big Ten win ever as they beat Washington, who was 6-1 before that, 69-58. So it wasn't exactly a blowout of any stretch of the imagination. But so it just goes back to the point that I made the last time we spoke, and every time I talk about the Big Ten now, it's going to be an absolute bloodbath every night. Half of the league, I think, has a legitimate shot at the top as of right now. They're good enough that you will be in for a dogfight if you have to play on the road, or hell, if you're playing at home, it doesn't really matter. There are just that many teams that can knock you off on a given night.
Yeah, I tell you, I have heard, I don't think I'm making this up, I've heard numerous people talk about how they don't think the Big Ten is that talented and there's just not that many good teams in the Big Ten. And I'll be honest with you, I in past years, I think, even last year, I think that sentiment was, I think there was a lot of validity to that. And you looked at some of the teams, and there were some teams that it wasn't the normal teams, but there were some teams that just were not that great and were not, I don't think we're going to be competitive in a national setting. But this year, I have not seen Penn State play yet, and I've not seen Washington play. But outside of that, like, I've watched all these other teams play, and I can't figure out who they're thinking is not very good, because they're all pretty good. Like, there might not be one super dominant team like I think Purdue would have been considered that last year. But I think there's a whole bunch of teams that could finish in the top 3. And I'm talking 9 or 10 different teams I think could finish in the top 3. And that's not because the other teams are bad. It's because I think it's going to be a dogfight. And I think there's that many talented players throughout all of the Big Ten on all of these teams. They all have good players and are playing well together.
Clemson knocks off Kentucky last night at home, 70-66. A little early season court storming already.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the notoriety Kentucky got early in the season with that, I think, game with Duke and some of their early success, I think it's back to beating Kentucky is a big deal again now, and as I think it should be. I mean, Coach Pope's doing a fantastic job with those guys.
That's a hell of a job to have that pulled together in your first season.
Yeah, right. Yep.
I mean, that's very difficult.
They call that a Signetti.
There you go. Number 14, Cincinnati, they go down to Villanova. So there are games all over the place. And here's a big one. How about our Chris Beard at Ole Miss? He had the Rebels rolling. They had a close loss to Purdue over the weekend, in which they could have easily won that game. Get blown out by Louisville in Louisville, 86 to no. Yeah.
Are you looking at that reversed?
No, I am looking at it reversed. Ole Miss blows Louisville out. Chris Beard, let's talk about Coach of the Year already. This is a guy who came into Ole Miss a year ago into a team that was 13-22. They start 15-0 last season. This year, he has them ranked early on, and now they're kicking the crap out of teams that just kicked the crap out of Indiana.
I don't like the comparisons of they beat this team and that team beat this team, so they got to be better than them. I don't fall too much into that. Every game takes on its own personality and goes its own direction. And
exactly.
But I will say I have watched them play, and I did watch them play against Purdue, and they are legit and they are good. And he's got a good product that he's putting out on the floor. And I think it kind of goes the same way as what we say about. Coach Beard had the issues a couple of years ago at Texas, and when he ended up getting dismissed from there. And I think in this scenario, he came back in kind of an under-the-radar program, a program that needed resurrecting a little bit, and he's going to do that really quickly. And I think at the end of this year, I think he's probably going to be one of the hottest coaches. And I think it's going to fall into the same category as what Indiana had to do with Coach Signetti. And they had to pay him the money. And where he is at Ole Miss, I don't think they're used to paying the kind of money that, the Kentuckys and the Indianas and some of those schools pay to their coaches. And so I think Chris Beard is going to be, I don't know what his contract looks like, but I have a feeling he's going to be the top of the list for a lot of schools in the coming year or two.
He wins. Googling.
He's good, and he's good, and he does it the right way. And his players play hard, and it's not flukes. Like, they go out there and they beat you on defense. Did you see when they played against Purdue? Did you see his shirt he was wearing?
No. Bob Knight.
Bob Knight. He had the Bob Knight logo right here across his shirt.
I did not see that.
I just thought to myself, man, if you're ever just kind of planting a seed saying a word. That's me, only me, my opinion. But
even though I did not see that night after that game, even though they lost, I sent out a tweet that was 2 words, and all it said was Chris Beard. Yeah. That's all it said. I didn't say another word.
I knew what you meant.
But yeah, we'll that's a story, or that's a conversation for another day. But Indiana gets a big win last night, 97-71, but it was much different than what their games have looked like so far. And I wonder what does that game look like without the career night from Luke Goode, who finally had his breakout night. He has a career night, but man, he was knocking it down off of the bench. He hit 5 3-pointers. He looked so comfortable shooting those shots. You said it all along, and you have been the one to say it, that just relax. He is going to do this because this is who he is. This is what he does. And he felt like it last night, as a matter of fact, and he looked like it last night in his shot. There was one shot, Todd, he came down and he looked like Caitlin Clark. He was looking for the logo. He just stepped across half court. I don't think he had the ball. I think he got it in transition, but he was like 8 feet behind the stripe and boom, uncorked it, and it just went swish.
Yeah, I don't have any doubt in my stance of he's going to be fine. Like, he's a good shooter. I don't think this will be his best career night at the end of the season. I think he'll have many nights when he makes, 4, 5, 6 3-pointers in a game. And I think Indiana needs him for that. I think as he gets more comfortable and he starts to figure things out, I know because of injury and other things, like the lineups got moved around a little bit last night and some different lineups were on the floor. And I hope Coach Woodson liked what he saw because, I've been saying since last summer when they re-signed Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal, I've been saying since last summer a couple of things. One, I wouldn't have mind seeing Anthony Leal take his year and go somewhere else where he was going to get significant, I don't want to say guaranteed playing time, but he was pretty much know he was going to play every game because I'd just like to see the kid have a chance and enjoy his career. He would not get recruited by this coaching staff if he were coming out of high school today. His style of game doesn't really fit with what I think Coach Woodson wants in a player. And that's just a little more length and athleticism and getting up and down the floor. And I'm not blaming him for that. That's his philosophy. And I understand that. I love the way Miles Rice and these guys at Kanan Carlisle play. I like that style as well. But I just don't think that Anthony Leal kind of fits into the system that Coach Woodson is looking at putting on the floor. But I'll say this. When Anthony Leal's on the floor, 95% of the time he makes the right play. And he always ends up in the right – a lot of times he ends up in the right spot getting that one rebound, or last year the tip-in that he had. Or he makes the right pass at the right time. Like, I watched him play yesterday, and there's a lot of – he did the easy things that you see are him coming down and making a pass to I think he made a good one to Goody on a break, and he got a 3-pointer out of it and made it and all that. Those are the easy ones to see. But he makes the right play. Sometimes that doesn't even mean anything. It's like a hockey assist. Like, he knows the ball needs to be reversed, so he gets it to the guy who's then going to reverse it. And he makes those passes on time when you're supposed to. And he is a veteran. And I'm telling you, the offense flows. I said this last year when they put him on the floor. I was worried this summer when they signed all the guys that they signed, because I knew that those guys fit the system that Woodson wants on the floor better. And that's Miles Rice, Kanan Carlisle, those guys. I get it. I love those guys on the floor. But when you watch the game that happened yesterday and numerous games last year, Anthony Leal is one of those guys I don't think you can take off the floor. And I mean, I know that's not going to happen. I know they're not going to start playing him 20 to 30 minutes a game. I feel like that's not going to happen. I wish it would. I wish they would give him a chance, because I do feel like almost every play that he made yesterday was the right play. And I think 95% of the time he does make the right play. And I even though other guys make up for it a lot, I know I'm rambling, but 95% is a high percentage for a guy to make the right pass and the right block out and the right cut and the right help on defense.
Well, it's funny you say that. He only scored I think 5 points, but the plus minus that when he was in was pretty staggering. I don't have it pulled up right now in front of me as I am trying to get that done. I can get it done quicker than I thought. Plus 39. That's damn near impossible.
Do they have that compared to everybody else? Is there anybody else that's even close to that?
Plus 31 for Bryson Tucker. And Luke Goode was plus 23. Baco, -1. Umar Ballo, 5. Trey Galloway, 9. Ja'Kai Newton won. But that's a staggering. But those guys played substantial minutes there for that run too.
Yeah, they did. And look, they made a run. Sometimes that plus minus can get skewed based on, just the literal timing of guys throwing shots in and whatever it is. And I understand that. But in this case, last night, I think it was kind of a mixture of it. I think he easily the offense flowed differently when he was on the court. And I was trying to figure out like what lineups I wanted to see with him out there. I want to see him with Miles Rice, but I keep playing these games in my head of who do I want to see on the floor together. And every time I do it, I never end up with Ballo and Renew on the floor at the same time. And then I just stop and almost, hit erase everything because I know that's
not going to not happen.
That's the lineup that Woodson wants on the floor the most. And so I'm battling against something that I can't win. And I'm not saying I'm right and he's wrong. I'm just saying the lineup that I see where the ball moves, players are moving, we're not stuck, in the mud trying to just dump it in the post.
It looked as though he was forced to play the way that they played last night, but that was the successful way. That's
totally
we've got lots more coming up. The shot father, Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com is with us. If you have a kid, know a kid, are a kid, need help with your jump shots, need help with your basketball fundamentals, period. Go to the shot doctor at myjumpshot.com. Here's Luke Goode on hitting shots as we'll head to break.
Yeah, it's just a testament to the process. I believe in myself, and I know that I'm one of the best shooters in the conference, and I feel that way every day. So I go through the same routine I do every day, regardless if I shoot well, if I don't shoot well, and approach the game that way. So, it was good to see shots go down. I got to give a shout-out to my teammates. I think we really moved the ball well in transition. When you get easy transition threes, it kind of gets you into a rhythm of the game. So being able to see some go down at home is definitely great for the confidence, and I think everybody benefits because you saw Miles get downhill. Malik and Ball got easy looks. It helps the whole team when I'm able to hit shots.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revestco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Morale in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the hard truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the hard truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate you greatly. Todd Leary, the shot father, with us from myjumpshot.com. And Indiana gets a win last night as they get closer and closer to Big Ten play starting for them. That comes next Monday, man. It's going to be right around the corner, but they get a nice win last night. Miles Rice has a good night shooting from the floor, 9 of 12 overall. Didn't get to the free throw line. Malik Renew, 7 of 10, 70% for him, 18 points, 4 of 4 at the free throw line. Umar Ballo was having a night at the free throw line. He was 5 of 7. And I'm like, oh my God. But then he had to he had to go there a few more times and ended up 6 of 10, 60%. Boy, when he goes to the free throw line, it's almost like a hope. Kind of a hope, and that shot goes in with this new switch over to the left hand. But a good win for Indiana. But again, man, I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed watching how they played last night and would love to see a little bit more of that more wide open type of offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people enjoy in today's watching basketball. I think people enjoy seeing the ball move around more, and I don't even know if they know that that's what they enjoy. But when the ball's moving, basketball is much more exciting. And when you get easier looks when you get the defense moving from side to side and you get the ball reversed. And that's why you hear coaches say that all the time. And the ball gets stuck on one side. And it just becomes, kind of methodical at that point, and it slows the game down. And I think the faster pace game is what's, hot right now and more exciting. And the unfortunate part is I think that being the case, or Coach Woods, the fact that we all like it, I think that almost goes the reverse order. I think he almost wants to do it his way and prove that his way is going to work. And it's just I enjoyed watching them play last night when the ball was moving, getting up and down the court. Now, I also understand they were playing Sam Houston State. Like they're not playing, a Big Ten opponent. And we're watching all these other Big Ten opponents play each other. Indiana's usually one of the teams that plays first in all the Big Ten games, at least the last couple seasons they have, and now they're going to be one of the last to not start till next week. But yeah, it's just I enjoyed watching that. I enjoyed the guys getting up and down the floor. I'm telling you, I enjoyed watching Anthony Leal play last night. I hope that he gets an opportunity to play some more, and I hope it's not just because of injuries.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion that once the Big Ten season rolls around, we're going to see a lot more of the buddy ball type of offense. And it's just, I don't think these other Big Ten teams are going to oblige. They're going to push the issue, and Indiana's going to have to respond. We'll see. I am definitely not a coach. That's why I have the smart people like you on. But man, I think if they could incorporate that a hell of a lot more into their game by game play, they would probably find a little more success.
Well, I mean, so like we already talked about Michigan a little bit, but let's use them as an example. So like with Renew and Ballo on the floor, you got a 7-footer and you got a 6'9" or 10 guy up there. Okay. And we'll just say they're not the most nimble guys up and down the court. Like Renew's much better and in much better shape, and his body's in better shape. He gets up and down the floor. I'm only lumping him into that category because I do think he gets up and down the floor pretty well. But Ballo is obviously a little slower, and he slumbers down the floor because he's so big. Like I understand that. I get that. But then you take Michigan, and you've got, the Wolf kid from Yale who's 6'11", and you got Vlad that transfers from FAU who's 7 feet tall. So they're going to have two big guys on the floor at the same time. The difference is Vlad sets a ball screen out there about 30 feet from the basket, and the guy dribbling off of it is the other 6'11" guy in Wolf. And so you're going to have Ballo and Renew out there guarding the ball screen. Like there was nothing Wisconsin could do to stop that last night. It was unstoppable. and they ran it into the ground. They ran that play until literally the clock ran out. They couldn't run another play because that play was so successful. And what's Indiana going to do in that scenario? Like, I know you want to put your team on the floor and make them defend you, but I don't know how unless Indiana goes to a zone, I don't know how they defend that. And that's just one team. And so I'm just saying, like, I don't know that the lineups are going to allow him to – I shouldn't say that because every time I say something like that, he tries to prove me wrong, I feel like. But
well, and I wonder, Umar Ballo only played 19 minutes last night. By far the least amount of minutes he's played. And it was not because of foul trouble. He had 0 fouls. So was it that Mike Woodson actually saw that this is kind of working? Maybe
definitely
need to stick with this.
Well,
I asked that because that never happens.
Well, I will say the lineup that was on the floor late in that first half, or from like the 12-minute mark to the 3-minute mark in that first half. I don't think he planned on that lineup staying on the floor that entire period of time. But they played so well together, he did the right thing, and he let it play out, and he let him go. And I will say this, for those people who want, the old Coach Knight way to be back or whatever it is, that was as similar to what Coach Knight would have done as anything that Mike Woodson's done in his tenure so far. Because if you remember, there was a lot of games. There were some games I wouldn't even play at all. Or I might play 3 or 4 minutes. Literally the very next game, I might play 30 minutes. And then the next game, I might play 25 minutes. And then I might go back to playing 3 minutes again. And it was all how Coach Knight felt like the group was playing together. And that wasn't unusual. Now, the reason why I feel like Mike Woodson doesn't do that is because the NBA doesn't do that. The NBA has a set schedule and pattern of how they substitute. Until they get to the playoffs every year, those players know almost to the second when they're coming out of the game. They know to the timeout or dead ball when they're coming out. In the first quarter, in the second quarter, when they're going back in, when they're coming out in the third quarter, and when they're going back in the fourth quarter. Like, they know that. It's set. And that's, I feel like, how Mike Woodson substitutes. That's what he's done for the last, 30 years. In coaching and playing, that's the system he's done way more than what he did and learned for Coach Knight. And so I think, I don't know if he fell into it or if it was intentional last night, but he left that lineup on the floor and they played well, and that's why you see the plus minus the way that it is. Mbako played good last night. What'd you say his plus minus was -1 or something like that, or Renew or one of those guys? So, I mean, when you look at that, like, that's not accurate. He played better than that. He was more.
And he only played 22 minutes too, so he got less minutes.
But he was more important to the game than what that plus minus shows. But he wasn't in there during that run, and that run was a big part because that run, I think it got down to maybe 2 or 3 points, and then those guys spread it back out to up to 15, 17 or whatever it ended up being close to halftime, and so. Then they came out and kind of did the same thing in the second half. And so that's why the plus minus is so skewed the way that it is. But those guys did play better, and they did play a different style, and it was hard to guard.
What about Mbako and Goody on the floor at the same time with a mix of Ballo and Renew, with those two guys flipping out and leaving these two prolific, high-profile shooting wings in at the same time?
Yeah, offensively, it's awesome. It sounds awesome, and it's great. Like, when I sit there and I play the lineup game in my head all the time, almost every lineup I throw out there has Goody and Mbako on the floor at the same time. And so the problem with that on the defensive end is rebounding. And you're going to have to get a significant amount of rebounding out of Mbako, and you're going to have to get a decent amount of rebounding out of Goody. The part where I think that's still feasible at happening is because Indiana has pretty good rebounding guards. Miles Rice is athletic. He gets in there. He sticks his nose in. He comes up with 3 or 4 rebounds a game. And when you watch, I think that obviously Trey Galloway is going to stick his nose in there and get rebounds. I think Kanan Carlisle will. I think in the lineup, the way that they played so far, and I hope this turns around and bites me later in the season, because I hope he ends up playing so well they have to put him on the floor. But Kanan Carlisle's been the guy who has, I'll say, produced the least. I'm not going to say he's played the worst, because I don't necessarily – that's not what I'm trying to say. But I think he has produced the least amount from his position. And I think that's the Luke Goody position. I think with Rice at point guard and Goody at the 2 guard and Mbako at the 3 guard, and then he's going to start Ballo and Renew. So let's just go ahead and throw that lineup out there. We're wishing if we think it's not going to be that way. And so I think I'd like to see that lineup out there. And then the first sub would be, taking Ballo out of the game and putting Galloway on the floor. And let's see how that thing gets up and down the court. And then figure out who Carlisle alternates in for out of those 4 guys that I just named right there. Who does Carlisle in there with? And I think you substitute in a way that you kind of have 2 different teams that you work with. And one has the 2 big guys on it, and the other one alternates the 2 big guys. And you get to put 4 faster guys on the court. And that's what I'd like to see happen.
Boy, but you're the one that talked about how well that how good of a shooter that Mackenzie Mbako is as well. Boy, if you can get those 2 guys going, Indiana would be almost impossible to beat because that would take all the pressure off of the guards, and they have guards that Miles Rice is playing pretty well. Trey Galloway is a solid senior. He's an experienced guy, and then you have Malik Renew, who's also very experienced. Man, that would be a formidable team if they were rolling.
Well, I've watched a lot of basketball, especially coming off of last week with Feast Week and all the different tournaments and good matchups that we got to see last week. And I will tell you, a matchup or a lineup with Mbako and Goody on the floor at the same time, I didn't really see another group, and I'm sure there are some, but it's nice to be able to put them into a pretty elite category. But I didn't see a better duo on the floor at the same time being able to shoot the ball on any team across the country. And I firmly believe, if I'm an expert in anything, which a lot of people would say I'm probably not, but if I'm an expert in anything, it's shooting. And I don't just mean form. I don't really care what a guy's form looks like as long as it's natural to him. And I think Goody has an extremely fundamentally sound form, and Mbako just has a beautiful form that no one should ever touch because it's I don't want to say flawless, but it's its own version of flawless. It's beautiful. But
Pretty
he and Goody out there on the floor at the same time, I don't know that there's a better tandem of shooters that teams could put on the floor. And I certainly can't think of it in the Big Ten. There's guys that are going to get hot and make shots. I get that. I think we saw last week Braden Smith made his first 4 3-pointers that he took, and Fletcher Lawyer made his first 3. That's pretty good duo out there. But we all know that's not what Braden Smith wants to do. He wants to distribute the ball and be the true quintessential point guard. So from a 2-guard and a 3-guard perspective of putting guys out on the floor, I think Indiana could have the 2 best shooters in the country on the floor at the same time. I just hope we get an opportunity to see them play at the same time.
It would be fun. Todd Leary, the shot father from myjumpshot.com. If you know of, have one, a kid, are a kid, know a kid, can use, or it doesn't have to be a kid, anyone that can use some help with the jump shot with your basketball fundamentals. Go to myjumpshot.com. We'll see you again on Friday.
Can't wait.
Looking forward to it. Todd Leary joining us as we head out to break. Here's Malik Renew on Luke Goode hitting those shots and what it does for the Indiana basketball team.
Like you said, it just opens up for everybody. Whether Miles hitting downhill, open up little drop-offs to the bigs and stuff like that. But it's not only just in the game. Luke shows it in practice every single day. So he gives us that confidence when he's open. We know he's going to knock down the shot. Even if he missed, we're telling him, good shot, keep shooting. So, he's 5 out of 7 today. That's a great day for him. So that's all I can say. Good job.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. and that's the hard truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the hard truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Just finished up with Todd Leary and heard from a couple of the Indiana players, Malik Renew, as well as Luke Goody, who had a very goody night for the Hoosiers last night in their 97-71 win over Sam Houston State. Career night for Luke Goody. 18 points on 5 of 8 shooting overall. He was 5 of 7. Behind the 3-point stripe, 3 of 4 at the free throw line, plus 23 on the stat sheet in just 17 minutes of play. Now, why he wasn't out there for more, that's a whole nother question. But last night also, Kanan Carlisle not available. Jordan Rayford got onto the floor last night. A walk-on. Not really completely understanding that one, but not that I care. If he can play, he can play, but just a little odd to see that. But curious on how that was to roll. But Indiana next up on Friday night. Couldn't have a free weekend, man. No football game this weekend, and but we have to have a basketball game on Friday. They take on the team from Miami of Ohio in their last, well, it's not the last. They will open up Big Ten play on that following Monday, which is next Monday, December 9th, against Minnesota, The Golden Gophers come to town, and that game is followed 4 days later with a game on the road in Lincoln, Nebraska against the Cornhuskers. Then they'll have 2 more non-con games as well. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joins us now. Kyle, how are you, sir?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Great. Last week there the new class for the Hall of Fame was announced, and there was so much going on, didn't get to bring it up to you, but I wanted to briefly at least talk about that. Some new names going in there, and it's always fun to see who's going into the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they announced their men's class last week, and then the silver anniversary team was yesterday, and trying to remember who was all in the Hall of Fame class. I'll pull it up here.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. I apologize because I forgot. I meant to get to it last week, and with the state finals going on and all of that, I did not get to, and I hated to miss that. But
yeah, Bryce Drew, Matt Graves, Scott Hicks. Some of the names included.
A Kerr. Was it Floyd Kerr?
Floyd Kerr and Lloyd Kerr. Yeah, both of them.
And was it Floyd that was drafted by 3 different professional leagues, the NBA, the ABA, and the NFL?
Yeah, I can't remember which of the 2, but yeah, that's correct. And yeah, Floyd actually went on to become a athletic director for a long time at Southern and Morgan State. But yeah, they both played with the Harlem Magicians, which, it's kind of a cool, both of them have since passed away, unfortunately. But yeah, some cool stories from, what they accomplished. Troy Lewis was in that group. Dave McCullough still coaching. Jim Shannon obviously coached a long time, among the names in there. And there's always some interesting backstories. I did write Matthew Graves. I went down to White River Valley or Switz City and did a story on him this summer. Of course, the Indiana State coach now, but yeah, there's always so many interesting stories and backgrounds from those Hall of Famers.
And speaking of one, switching sports, football, Bud Wright, the state's all-time winningest high school football coach, resigned at Sheridan after 59 years. But, of course, that, as they sometimes go, that was a leave or get fired kind of a situation, unfortunately for him. But sometimes people do overstay their welcome, and it's time to move on. But you hate to see that, no matter what the case is, with a successful career like he has had.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I guess my feeling is it's too bad. It's not how I would have expected it to end. I always kind of thought there'd be a big, even if he didn't announce it before the season, there'd be a kind of a send off type of deal, and shoot his names on the side of the state. It's he's all-time winningest coach. He's obviously so many generations of kids have played for him at Sheridan. So to end it this way, it seems kind of unfortunate at the very least. And he had an issue this season where there were some parents, and again, there's only so much the school is saying, and Bud, he talked yesterday. He said his side of it, and so you're kind of left with his side of it for the most part. I did get a statement from the school, basically said, and they kind of refuted that they said, and I guess you could kind of parse the words a little bit, but, and I'll pull it up here to make sure I get the right, we want to correctly state what they said. But, I talked to Dave Mundy, the superintendent, yesterday. He said, hey, I'll send you our statement right back here. And he said, during the 2024 season, Sheridan Community Schools worked with Coach Wright regarding his coaching future. After discussion and consultation with his family, Coach Wright agreed that this would be his final season. So, and there was an issue during the season where there were some parents and players, I guess, that had complained about Bud. I don't know all the specifics to that as far as what they were complaining. It sounded like it was some verbal situation, and he was on leave for 1 week. And they played a game without him. His son Kevin was basically made the associate head coach along with Jake Chesney, who coached on the staff already and played for Bud, and they continued through the season. According to the school, I guess that's kind of, they agreed to do that and then sort of part ways, and Bud said, no, I was either, going to be fired or, told to resign, which I guess you could kind of say is the same thing. He wasn't going to be allowed to continue coaching. So I don't know if that's a real discrepancy or whatever, but that's, it's at the end of the day, it's just sort of, and obviously there wasn't enough to fire him during the season, clearly, so he was allowed to continue on. But so at the end of the day, it's just sort of it seems sort of unfortunate that it ended like this.
Yeah, it is. He is 83 years old, and there are not many 83-year-old coaches in any sport these days either. So even with success, I think at some point there comes that time, but it's not for me to say, but you just hate to see it end that way. And especially as it comes around, 6 new state champions have been crowned this year. And by new, I mean new, because different from last season.
Yeah, it was a lot of new blood in the state finals, and I'd say the most fun matchup was probably the 6A game, the Brownsburg Westfield game that ended. Brownsburg wins it 22-17, and a huge crowd. I mean, it was 25,000 there on the Friday. That's not all the one game, but a lot of it was. I mean, that crowd was amazing. Their New Pile brought a lot for the 4A game. The 2A game was well attended to with Linton Stockton, Adams Central, and then you end up with, I think, 40,000 something total for the weekend. So really good, awesome crowds. I mean, the best since 2019. The single day on Friday was, I think, the 3rd best in the six class era. So, really good showing. And I think a lot of it has to do with, you had a lot of new blood there. Decatur Central wins its first title on Saturday night to cap off the weekend. And then, like I said, Brownsburg's first in 39 years. Adams Central won. Finally, they got through and win. They would actually move up and then win the 2A title after 3 years of runner-up in 1A. Like I said, New Pile wins again. They will move up to 5A next year. Heritage Hills, their first championship in 24 years, and they will move up to 4A next year. So you got some teams that'll move up next season, but really good crowds. Providence, they won the 1A title. Very Preston Kemp, their quarterback, very quick, fast kid. North Judson was not able to stop him. I like North Judson's team. They were kind of a grinder type of team that they stayed in the game, but they just couldn't stop Kemp enough. But and who am I missing? The 3A, Heritage Hills, and then I guess that's it. So it was a fun weekend.
Yep, Providence gets a state championship. So it was everybody got a little something and reached out to all different parts of the state. So great fun to see that. And now all eyes are turning towards basketball, man, except for in the collegiately. Purdue looking for a new head coach. I know that is going to affect their recruiting within the state. They've had the upper hand between Indiana and Purdue on the recruiting side, and that is no doubtly going to flop for right now, at least. Not to say it can't change back, because but we've seen the change in college athletics, so that stuff can change quickly. But they made the right move. They had to make a move because they were losing the commitments, and once you lose your recruiting base, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it kind of became an untenable situation, unfortunately. You just couldn't continue on, I think. And I think they'd planned to continue on, but it just got so bad that, you had to make that break. And, I think Ryan Walters will go on and have a good, he obviously is a young coach with a good defensive mind. And, maybe it was just not the right time or situation. Who knows? I mean, you don't all of a sudden just forget how to do everything. It's just sometimes the situation is – it's just not working, and it kind of creates a snowball effect. But Cameron Gorin from HSC, he's a guy to watch. He was a Purdue commit. He hasn't necessarily decommitted. I think they're kind of waiting on, and he's a legacy kid. His dad played there, so that's one that he's not signing today. And then Gabe Arambolis from Westfield, who he was a Ball State commit receiver. So he's not signing either, and they just had a coaching change at Ball State too. So Ball State's another one that there's been a little bit of change there. A lot of the guys though who did commit there have ended up signing, but Gabe's one who has not. So there are some few stories a little bit going on that deal with the coaching changes that affect the kids locally. Davian Chandler did sign this morning with IU. He wrote a little first-person account for us this morning, so if people want to check that out. And then Mark Zachary, too, from who's going to Notre Dame, he wrote a first-person kind of a why I signed. We have usually a couple kids do that for us each year, and Davion and Mark did for us this morning, so people can check that out too.
Yeah, Davion, he's the one that flipped from Illinois, right?
Yeah, he originally committed, I think, in May, I want to say, to Illinois, and then he went. And IU was still recruiting him. He's close with Omar Cooper, who went to LN, and he ended up visiting IU, and IU was really the first school that had got in on him, but he liked his Illinois trip and ended up committing, but very quickly changed course and committed to IU.
Yeah, and Chandler talked about in the piece on there that the confidence of Coach Sig. Well, he has good reason to be confident after the 11-1 season and college football playoff bound Hoosier season that they have had, and that's a great selling point. It's kind of hard to have much better than heading to the college football playoffs as a great selling point.
Oh yeah, I mean it's you talk about creating some wind beneath you in your first season. I mean, I can't imagine anyone doing that like he did this year. So you've created a whole new, kind of that's kind of how college football is anymore. It's a 1 year, it's kind of year to year. And they created some momentum, and who knows what it'll look like next year, or 2, 3, 4 years down the road, but you've set yourself up for future success. And, and I would say too, in Purdue's case, it seems like you always have to remember it's probably what you think it is right now is not as bad as it really is. And that kind of works in life sometimes too, but you can change the narrative pretty quick anymore. And we've seen that with IU, so I think there's, not that everyone can follow that model or it's going to work that way, but you can change your situation pretty quickly anymore.
Yeah, and you have to like the things that he had to say about Indiana, and even though he flipped, but he said it's about setting himself up for future, growing as a person, being a part of something real, the family aspect, all of those different things, especially in the me era of athletics. It's very refreshing to see at least those words in paper, in writing.
Absolutely. And I've got to know Davion, over the last year or whatever it's been, since I've started covering him. He's a real, he's a fun guy to talk to. I think people will like him. I hope he has, it doesn't guarantee you on the field success, but I do think he's got the ability to be a guy to help IU. He's just his ball skills are very rare. You put something in his radius, he's going to catch it. He's fearless. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's not afraid to go over the middle, make catches, and then make you miss. And so he's a guy that I think can definitely help that team. And I don't know if right away or whatever, but I think he can help them. At some point down the road. And having that Omar Cooper blueprint there is helpful too for a guy coming from the same high school.
Absolutely. What is up next for you?
I'll be updating our signings today. I don't know if there's a whole lot more, but we do have a list up right now. We'll add to that as needed, as necessary. I'm sure Zach has a lot of our IU coverage up as well for that signing class. But yeah, so we'll be doing that in the immediate, but also working, like you said, it's basketball season. So starting to turn the corner slightly. Still have a lot of football stuff I need to get done. Have some basketball stuff that I didn't finish because of everything else going on in the last 2 weeks. But hopefully we'll get things kind of done by the end of this week, at least as far as preview stuff goes, and start to look forward.
Make sure you're giving him a follow, Kyle Neddenriep, the Indy Star, all things the high school, whether it's recruiting or games or all kinds of stories. He's got them all. Kyle, appreciate you, my friend.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, Jim.
You betcha. Cal Neddenriep joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We've got more coming up with the man himself, Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. We'll have that and much more when we return to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Mall Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Mall Road in Bloomington. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria in Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday, coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Joined now by the man himself, Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Mr. Bozich, how are you doing, sir?
You know, I'll be honest, I'm a little tired today. I had a late game last night. Louisville played the 9 o'clock game against Ole Miss. So I'm...
Yeah, how'd that go for the Cardinals?
You really don't know?
Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm being facetious, but I had it backwards earlier. I just looked at the score real quick, and I thought Louisville had that big win, and then I'm like, whoa! And I was talking with Todd Leary about it, and I'm like, oh wait, I'm like, oh my god, Louisville got crushed by a good team. I mean, we just saw Ole Miss and Chris Beard take Purdue to the mat and barely lost that game. It's no secret what's going on in Oxford. Chris Beard came into Oxford and took over a year ago a 13-22 team. They start 15-0 on that season, and he's got them ranked already. Hell of a job going on down there.
Yeah, you know what? The two stats that were most impressive, and that's in context of watching what Indiana did against Louisville, is one, Ole Miss had 8 turnovers the whole game. They only had 3 about 5 or 6 minutes into the second half, and Louisville shot 33s and made 5. So Ole Miss took care of the ball and defended, and they won. They could have won by 30. They won by, I think it was 25. And it's not like if you look at them, you say, that dude's an NBA guy or that dude's a lottery pick. I mean, they got good players. They don't have any great players, but they played about 8 or 9 guys. They play really hard on defense, and they don't take stupid shots. And it was impressive.
Little Rhodey undefeated. I'll have to look into that. Have they
He was
played
7-0
anybody?
the last time I checked. It might be 8 by now. He beat Chris Mack by 30.
Wow. Where is Chris Mack now?
He's at Charleston, the job that Pat Kelsey left to come here.
Yeah, well, maybe things can go for him from there.
And the other thing was in the post-game press conference, Chris Beard, he's got an Ole Miss shirt on, but on I think in the right side of his shirt, it has Bob Knight's autograph.
Todd Leary was talking about that earlier. It's a name that you might want to familiarize yourself with. Just saying, Indiana fans, that along with Bruce Pearl, I don't know 2 other names that if something were to happen, if Indiana's season did not go as planned and it got to the point to where that would be there, to me, there's no doubt that there are 2 names that would quickly rise to the top. Now, Chris Beard, I don't know just because, but boy, he would be my first choice for a coach. I don't care where you are. He's proven to be a winner. Former Knight assistant, you just hit the nail on the head. They took care of the ball and they defended. Well, that sounds like a team that a lot of people should be familiar with how they used to play. But congratulations on that. Indiana gets a big win over Sam Houston, but it was more important to have Luke Goody have a night that he had, and a career night, no less. But it also showed a different side of the potential that Indiana has offensively if they are allowed to play that way.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the game on Eric Crawford's iPad because we were in the press area at the Louisville game, and a couple things jumped out at me. One, it was good to see Anthony Leal get a chance to play. And I went back and read the post-game interviews. I thought Mike Woodson's response to when he was asked twice about why Anthony Leal played was weird. He said, like, just because I decided to play him or something. He didn't give any other reason. And then it appeared that they played better, faster, more effectively when they didn't have 2 bigs on the floor. It was weird. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. But when Todd was on earlier, I would love to see Mackenzie Mbako and Luke Goody on the floor at the same time.
Right.
And you figure out what to do with Ballo and Renew.
Yeah, I don't think they fit well together. I mean, not for long stretches, maybe for brief stretches, but I don't think they fit well together. And the plus and minus stats can sometimes be misleading, but Anthony Leal had a plus and minus of plus 29 and like played less than half the game. I mean, that was pretty remarkable.
No, I'm sorry. It's not. Is that him? Oh, well, get off of here. I got something blocking it. No, it wasn't plus 29, Rick. It was plus 39.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Plus 39.
And Bryson Tucker, plus 31.
I like
both
Bryson
guys
Tucker.
off of the bench. Luke Goody, plus 23. 3 bench players.
Well, at the end of the Louisville beatdown, when he put the subs in, those guys played harder than the starters played. I thought. I mean, I didn't think the starters played hard in either of the first 2 games. I thought they were flat-footed. I thought they were disinterested. I thought they weren't competitive. I mean, I didn't think they gave great effort at all in those first 2 games.
And when that is the case, I don't always first look at the players, although a lot of people just think, oh, that's just the players being lazy. I wonder sometimes if there's just not a belief in what you're doing. If you don't believe in what you're doing, it's hard to put that 100% out there. It's just human nature. It's just hard because if you don't believe in it, you've got that pull. It's pulling on you.
And we've talked about this before, but what makes it even more striking is when you don't see that from the football team. Their attention to detail and they didn't have one letdown the whole season. Most football teams have a game where they have a letdown and they don't play their best and they kind of underachieve or get upset or don't beat the spread or whatever. I mean, I wouldn't say the football team played that way all year. The old Michigan game was the only game they didn't cover the spread other than Ohio State, and Ohio State was just better. But every other game that they were supposed to win, they not only won, they won convincingly. And those first two games in the Bahamas, I was kind of dumbfounded at the lack of competitiveness by the basketball team.
Yeah, that's what makes that's the worst thing. Losing is one thing, but if you go down swinging, if you go down fighting and scratching,
right.
that's people see that and they accept it. But when you don't have that heart, that's what it really leaves the brand on people's brains. And it's too early in the season to get into beating on the dead horse, but I don't think that we're really going to have to worry about that because this Big Ten, Rick, it may not have 3 out of the top 4 teams like the SEC currently does, but they're half deep in teams that can and probably will fight for being in the top 4 of the conference. There's a lot of teams that are good basketball programs this season.
There's not a lot of separation there. I mean, I guess is Purdue the highest ranked team in the rankings? I guess they are in the computer rankings. I would think they are. And I mean,
Oregon's right behind them, I believe.
Oregon, I forgot. Oregon's really good. They're 7 or 8-0. I keep forgetting about Oregon.
It's too many to keep remembering of. There's like 8 or 9 that are decent teams.
Ohio State's good. Michigan's good. Wisconsin's good.
Michigan, a big win last night by Michigan on the road at Wisconsin, who is also good.
Right. Penn State's good. Maryland's good. If you bring that kind of effort into the Big Ten, you will not win. I guess Minnesota is the weakest team, considered the weakest team, and that's who Indiana opens against in the Big Ten, correct? And then they go to Nebraska. Next week it's Minnesota on Monday and then Nebraska on Friday, I believe. So we'll see.
Let's see. We'll wait to talk about that in the next segment when we get to some football. But Indiana has another game before they will pick up Big Ten play.
Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, Miami of Ohio coming in, and the Big Ten play starts on Monday for back-to-back games, and then they'll travel to Lincoln to take on Nebraska. But it's here, man, and they're going to have to get ready. And I know that fans are kind of done listening to – they're over of well, we got to get better at this and we got to get better at that. Come on, man. It's the 4th season. What do you mean you got to get your team better at this and that? And you just mentioned the football team. It's about being attention to detail. It's about doing the things correctly and doing them correctly day in, day out, time in, time out. And if you do that, good things are going to happen.
Well, I mean, I heard what he said after some of the Bahamas games about got some new players and all. I mean, Louisville had all new players. Every player was new, right? I mean, most
13, teams, all 13.
Most teams have in the transfer portal era. Most teams have 6 to 8 new players. Duke has all new players. I mean, that's just the way it is. You don't get a time to build towards next season. It doesn't work that way anymore. You've got to be ready to go every year and have the guys, understand that. And I don't know. That was just and let's be honest, the reason that I think there's so much unrest is that it's the very same kind of performance we saw last year in the last game of the year against Nebraska in the Big Ten tournament. It's the same kind of beatdown we saw against Auburn and UConn last year. It's the same kind of beatdown from the St. Mary's game in the NCAA tournament or against Arizona or Kansas the year before. I mean, there's too many of these games where they're just not competitive.
And not only that, Rick, just harken back to last year, you only have so many opportunities to get your quality out of conference wins. Well, that ship has sailed now for Indiana. It's over. Now that means what you did not do in pre-conference, you have to do a little bit more in conference.
Right.
Wrong season, wrong conference to have to do more in this year, because this is, like I said, a very deep conference, and that's going to be a hell of a challenge.
Well, I've read the comments from his radio show, and I guess Fish asked them something about whether they were discouraged or disappointed or whatever it was, and Woodson kind of pushed back on that and said, what are you talking about? We got a long way to go. It's like what he's talking about is what you're just mentioning. You missed your opportunity to win the non-conference games that matter. So now you're going to have to probably win 12 games in the Big Ten to get some quality. I mean, 10-10 is not going to get it done. 11-9 is going to be borderline, and 12-8 is probably what you're going to have to do. You've eliminated your margin of error, not only by losing those 2 games, but losing them the way you did. You can't keep getting blown out and not think that that's not going to hurt the perception of your team by the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee.
Exactly. And they're already in the position that we know what last year happened. We know what happened last year when they did not have those quality wins. Not only that, they didn't have very many of these wins like they got last night over Sam Houston. They're not as bad there, but this is not going to help them a ton. Really, beating Sam Houston by 26 or whatever it was. Yeah, that's nice. But you're going to have to do some damage in the Big Ten, and that does not mean winning your home games and losing all the road games.
Right. I know when the net came out Monday morning, what were they, 71st? I haven't checked.
74th, I believe.
Okay. Well, I'm sure they update it every day, so they probably have gone up. I know they went up 7 or 8 spots in Pomeroy yesterday. In fact, they're ahead of Louisville, believe it or not. But not – it's not the kind of – we've talked. I mean, everybody knows what the situation is, and everybody knows what the temperature of the fan base is. It's a lot of people. I saw pictures of the crowd last night. It didn't look very impressive.
No, it was a pretty chilly night in Bloomington on a weeknight, and so there are
nobody's going to want to come out and watch Sam Houston State.
Exactly. Not on when it's cold. When it's what was a 7:30 game, so it's not a late game, but still there are fans in Indianapolis. That's a late night for a weeknight when it's freezing cold. They're not going to do it. I mean,
not after what they saw last week.
No. Now that win helps, but they're going to have to do. I think they need to go 2-0 in Big Ten play for these first 2 games. I think they have to go 2-0. Nebraska is not one of the teams that we're talking about that you're going to have to watch out for. And I'm not saying that they're not capable of winning. I'm just saying they're not one of the teams that we're talking about. So you have to beat all of those teams. You cannot lose to those I don't know what the word to use for the group of potential guys at the top, but you have to beat everyone else.
I mean, Nebraska beat them 3 times last year, so until Indiana beats them, I'd say Nebraska is going to be favored. Right? They beat them by double figures 3 times last year, I think. I think they won all 3 games rather easily.
And the thing for Indiana right now is, and Mike Woodson said this a few games back, someone asked him, well, what's your identity? Don't know yet. Still looking. Well, that bothers me. Because if you don't know what your identity, you should know what it's supposed to be, because you know what your personnel is. You know how to use that personnel best if you're using it by the personnel, or if you're trying to fit personnel into a system. That's where a problem arises, when you try to force fit square pegs into round holes. And I think that we've seen too much of that, just trying to force fit players into a system that doesn't work. Last night, accidentally, they go off script, and look what the hell happened.
Luke Goode looked like an All-American shooting the three-point ball last night. And he looked like Caitlin Clark on one. He stepped across, barely across half court. Boom, just lets it go, smooth as can be, drains it. He just looked good. He felt good. He was in a rhythm. And then what happened? He gets taken out. And I'm like, why the hell are you taking him out? I would ride that sucker until tongue was hanging out. They're kids. They can take it. What the hell? Why? I don't understand why this belief is that these guys cannot play 38 minutes a game. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that from what I read and what I saw, it looked like a different kind of team with a more mobile lineup, more perimeter play, ball moved faster. They played faster, scored 97 points, didn't they? They scored 97. Yeah, and they didn't take an extraordinary amount of threes, but they took a decent number and they made a high percentage. I mean, they do have a better shooting team this year. The problem is that, they still treat the 3-point shot like it's a bit of a novelty. It's not a
part of the offense. It's not like a first look.
Third or fourth option. The first thing is to feed the post. The second thing is to drive the ball. And the third thing is to shoot a three.
Well, if you take away Luke Goode's night of going off the bench of going 5 for 7, the rest of the team was 2 for 9, I think, or 8, whatever they were. The rest of the team only hit 2 shots. So, if he doesn't come off the bench and have that game, what does that game look like?
Yeah. We'll see if he can do it against Miami. Miami they beat Air Force the other night. They have a kid actually from Carmel who played at Bellarmine for 2 years, who transferred in there, who had 42 points the other night against Air Force. Pete Suter. He'll be jacked up to play against Indiana.
I'm sure he will. And how about Langdon Hatton, transfer from Bellarmine? He's been playing almost every game. Not a lot, but he gets in. He seems to deliver quality minutes when he's in there. He plays hard. Last night he scored 2 points on his only shot, had a rebound, and he managed 4 fouls, but he played 17 minutes. That's a lot of minutes when you have Ballo and Renew. Why the hell? And I'm not anything against Langdon Hatton, but why the hell is he playing 17 minutes when you have Ballo and Renew, and Ballo played 19 minutes? So they're almost equal. I know I've got a pretty good idea what Ballo is being paid, and I got a pretty good idea what Hatton is not being paid. So that's a huge disparity for the same production, the same minutes.
I hear you. I mean, I saw Hatton in the Bahamas. I think he got to the free throw line like 3 times in like about a 5-minute stretch. I mean, like 3 out of 6 or 4 out of 6, whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, he's a decent backup. I mean, there'll be some games where he'll help him out. There'll be some games when you won't be able to play him because he doesn't have the right skill set to go against quick mobile centers. But he's a decent backup. He was a reasonably good pickup. But you're right. I mean, he should be a 8 to 10 minute guy at the most.
We've got lots more coming up. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com is with us. The newest college football playoff, the penultimate college football playoff poll is out. I think that there are some things that are kind of set. We can usually expect change, Rick, but it looks like some teams may change, but I don't think a lot of the slots are going to change. Rick Bozich, right. WDRB.com is with us. We're back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this break. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 2 dozen or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Thank you so much for being with us. Hope you're keeping warm. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com is with us, and Rick has his grades out for college football, and Indiana gets an A+ from Rick Bozich.
It's the first one I've ever given in any sport.
I was getting ready to ask, how hard is it to get an A+? Because there's always something that can usually knock that down. But man, Kurt Cignetti named Big Ten Coach of the Year by the media and the coaches, and I expect him to be named Coach of the Year nationally. You just can't do what he did where he did it and it not be the best turnaround, the best job of the season. And so congratulations to him for that. And I'm sure that got him another bonus. Gee whiz, what did that just make him? $250,000.
Probably.
Pocket change, baby, pocket change um, but Indiana looking to go in. For those that have worried, and there have been many, Rick, that kept thinking, oh, we're going to get screwed. I'm like, Indiana's in. There, of all the things that might change, Indiana's not one of them. For one, because they're in the Big Ten. Two, they're deserving. And three, they're just not going to do that to either the Big Ten or the SEC. The SEC took care of themselves. They don't, the hell, they're getting Alabama in. What the hell are they going to complain about? So, there's no fear. The only question now is who they will play. Right now, slotted to play Georgia, but that's if they lose to Texas at the SEC championship. Rick, my thought is if Indiana plays the loser of that game, I don't think that they move anybody to up or down. I think that they just would swap Texas for Georgia because they already have Penn State at number 5. Okay, if they lose, they're not moving. They're not going to move them below Notre Dame, who does not even play in a conference championship, I don't think. So I don't think that those are going to change. The only possible changes would be is if
Clemson wins the ACC championship because they're not currently in the college football playoffs, and that would give them not only a berth in it, but a bye. What happens with SMU, who is up there pretty highly? I can't see them kicking them all the way out. And that's probably what Alabama has the biggest fear of, is SMU losing.
Right. So you're saying that Clemson would be probably what, 3? Or would
they
Boise
would have
State
to be? They would be up there, yeah.
Boise State
worst,
I don't know. Boise State could be 3. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Alabama, I guess, would be the team that would suffer. Ooh. Yeah, I expect Indiana to be playing at Georgia or at Texas, either one. I guess doesn't matter. I mean, they're both difficult places to play, and Georgia's closer than Texas, obviously. But once you get in the playoffs, that you're going to play a good team right off the bat anyway. So just use the extra time and get healthy and get ready to go.
And having talked about repeatedly saying that the issue for the Ohio State game for his Indiana team was the noise, which that's going to be the same if you go to Texas or if you go to Georgia. But having played at Ohio State this year, that was the first time that they were in a crowd like that, home or away. Michigan was able to go in and beat Ohio State, but they're used to 111,000 people at their home games. So that noise is nothing to them. And we'll see if Indiana can do that. But man, Indiana between the hedges. How about that thought? Indiana and Georgia. It still does. It's hard for it to sink in, Rick, but it's real. And can you imagine? They would have to have life support, medical personnel on standby for Paul Feinbaum if Indiana was able to go in to Athens and win that game. He would literally have an on-air heart attack without question, because he is Mr. SEC and one of those that thinks that the SEC just stands above all others. Man, I don't want to root against teams or for teams, but boy, I would have to tell you, I would love to see an Indiana go in and beat a Georgia SEC team.
Georgia's got a lot of talent. They probably have as much talent as anybody other than Ohio State in the country. But they've had a very uneven season. I mean, they've only lost 2, and they should have lost that game to Georgia Tech last Friday night. Georgia Tech got some really tough calls from the officials. They end up losing in 8 overtimes, and Georgia Tech came into Lexington and only beat Kentucky 13-12. So it's not one of the Kirby Smart's great teams. No, they got a lot of players, and they can obviously play great and win, but this wouldn't be a bad year to play Georgia.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I haven't seen any word. Like, when you play in one of these road games, do you get more tickets than you normally would for an away game, or does the host team get to treat it like a regular home game and only give the visitor like 3,000 or 4,000 tickets?
That's a great question. I don't know. I do know that Indiana has already sent out information to their season ticket holders for the ability to reserve. But I think that may have been for a home game.
I'm sure it was.
I don't have that answer, and it's a good one to find out today. Today is signing day, no less, as well. A huge day on that side of things. And Indiana was already getting guys paperwork in as early as 7:10 a.m. this morning. Evan Parker from Carmel was the first name that came across, and that was followed by Jalen Bell from Georgia. So for all these programs, but man, and this is not to be banging on somebody, but these fax machines, if they're still, I doubt they're still using fax machines, Rick, now that
they're probably scanning it. And
I dated myself there a little bit, but man, what the hell did they do back in the day? Pony Express,
they put them in the mail.
FedEx Express, but
now the emails come rolling across, but how quiet is it at Purdue today? And it's sad to, you have to feel for them a bit because, man, we've seen how hard it is, but when you get the right guy, I'm not saying that, 10-0 is just it worked out greatly, but if Purdue gets the right guy, they have history. They have tradition. That's quarterback you, man. They put out the talent. They have the support. They are definitely going to have to upgrade their NIL packages, I think. And I don't know much at all about what their NIL situation is, but I can pretty well guess it can't be that great. But they've got to get the coaching hire right. That is with anything, it all starts and ends with getting the right guy. Indiana finally, after just years of not, they got it right. And anyone that thinks that Indiana's not committed, dude, they lock him down before the season's over. He's not leaving ever. They bump up the assistant's salary pool to the second highest in the country behind only Ohio State. They're committed to football. Purdue already has the facilities.
I think Purdue athletic director Mike Mabitsky made a terrible miscalculation that if you look at the history of Purdue football, nearly every time they've been really good, it's because they're an offensive-minded team. Whether it was Jim Young or then it was Joe Tiller, who was like the first guy to bring the sort of the spread offense to the Big Ten, and then Jeff Brom for sure. And he fell in love for whatever reason with Ryan Walters and trying to win with defense. And you're not going to have enough dudes at Purdue to win with defense. I mean, the really good defensive guys, there aren't as many of them, and they're going to go to Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State and Notre Dame or whatever in the Midwestern footprint. And they were just totally not that good on defense and totally inept on offense. And I give him credit. I mean, he admitted his mistake in 2 years. Most athletic directors wouldn't be that willing to admit they made a mistake that quickly, but he didn't have any choice because in the new world, you've got to be competitive in football. And I'm sure the success that Cignetti in Indiana had made it even harder for him to hear from all of his boosters like, this is horrible. Look at Indiana. They're going to the playoff, and they didn't. Purdue didn't win a game other than the Indiana State game.
Hell, it's making it hard for Indiana basketball. You don't have to go outside of the school for Indiana football to have an effect. But it's true. I mean,
it is true.
Football is the hardest. Football is the hardest. Always has been, and even in this era, it's still hard to turn around. What Cignetti did is amazing. To go from 1-8 to 8-1 in one of the two best conferences in the country. We've seen, I don't care that people can talk about their schedule, man. How easy is it to stub your toe? Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, both beat Alabama. So it can happen if you're not on top of your game. And so, Indiana beat Michigan. Michigan beat Ohio State. I don't want to hear about their schedule. That's a team. Indiana's a team that routinely played one of the top schedules in the country until they did away with the divisions, and that will return. It's not always going to be that way. But, yeah, Purdue has to stay. They've got the facilities. They're set up. They're ready to go. Their practice facilities are amazing.
Their football administration building is much better than Indiana's. It's not even close. And their indoor facility and all that stuff. Much better. It's new. It's only 4 or 5 years old. It's nice. The problem they have at Purdue, I mean, they have the same problem Indiana has in many ways. There's a lot of good players in the state and in the Midwest. They'll go, if they're really good, they go to Ohio State or they go to Michigan or they go to Notre Dame or they go somewhere else. You have a hard time keeping the in-state kids at home. And now this year, I think they had a few decent recruits, but they all started decommitting in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I heard last night that Louisville's hoping to pick up a Purdue decommit today.
Wouldn't be surprising, man. What's up next for you?
Oh, Duke comes in here to play Louisville this weekend, so that'll be the Cooper Flag show. So we'll see. Louisville's, I'm sure the Louisville's now down 3 players, and the kid Cason Pryor, the big kid with the colorful hair, he's out for the year. He tore his ACL in the championship game against Oklahoma, so they were without him last night. So they're going to have some adjustments to do to move forward. And Kentucky actually has a good game this weekend too. They're playing Gonzaga in Seattle though on Saturday night. So those will be the games I'll be watching, and watching the Big Ten championship game to see if I don't think Penn State can beat Oregon. Penn State's got a terrible record in big games. They don't ever come through in big games.
They don't have the offense.
No.
They don't have the offense. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Thank you, sir. As always, look forward to it.
All right. Have a great week, Jim.
Thank you, sir. You as well. Rick Bozich joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Big thanks to everyone for joining us today on the program. As always, I hope you go out and have yourselves a great day. We're back tomorrow to do it again. Until then, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.